And Heavy had a very, very talented individual in his crew that would do all the background singing, and his name was Al B. Shore.
Okay.
So they were giving us some resistance at MCA about giving us autonomy to let us do our thing. So they didn't want to sign Al B. Shore. So we took Al B. Shore to Warner Brothers. Soon after that, Quincy Jones had this contest while he was signing called the Sony Innovator Awards. And we won. And after that, Al's album got completed and he came out with Night and Day and blew up like Michael Jackson.
Yeah, I mean that was a groundbreaking album. That was, I mean, I was in Africa at the time, and but you said MCA, you presented it to MCA, and they said no.
They said no. They said no. They said no, because this, you got to remember, this New Jack Swing thing was new to them. They was almost scared of it. You know, they couldn't believe that this kid, Teddy Riley, could be making these hits like this. So after Al, now Al's first album was a mixture of Teddy, Kyle West, and Al, and Timmy Gatlin singing the lead vocals with Al's vocals, and vice versa with the Guy album. So when we complete the Guy album, that blows up and does 2-3 million albums. And so now they're listening to everything Andre says.
Okay.
So now him and Gerald are bosom buddies, and anything we want to sign, we can sign. Then, you know, Gerald takes him to Lou Wasserman and Sid Schomburg. They were the head of Universal Pictures, film and TV, music, and anything else, you know. And they were two guys that if they took you under their wing, they could put you in a very powerful position. So once Gerald took them to MCA, they go to Andre and say, listen, Andre sells them on film that he has and the music. So they take it, and not only do they give him a deal that was worth $50 million at that time, and this is in 88, 90.
Mm-hmm.
Not only did they give him a deal, they gave us office on the lot of Universal. Gave us a television production company on the lot, offices, and everything like that. And so we get these offices, we make our first film. It was going to be House Party.
Oh.
If you know, in House Party, most of the artists that are in there,
yeah,
are from Uptown. Chill, Bilal, and B. They're all in there. And Groove Be Chill. So they're in there. One is the DJ, the other two are acting in it. And that was a story originally written by Andre Harrell and Alonzo Brown. That's Mr. High, right? So we're getting ready to do that film with the Hudlin brothers. Something happens, the Hudlin brothers wind up with the film. Andre and Alonzo in Uptown is out. Okay, so we move on. And we come out with the second Heavy D album. Now on this album, we got Eddie F producing, which he was producing since the beginning, and he's the DJ for Heavy D and the Boys.
Yeah.
We got Teddy Riley, who's producing, and I don't think Marley was a part of the second album because we had some conflict with him.
Okay.
And so he's out of the Uptown crew. He's going off to do his cold chilling thing and becomes very successful. Marley Marl is one of the greatest producers ever, you know, and so he's not involved with this, but it's us and Teddy Riley. And then Teddy brings this group called Guy into the loop. Like I said, the Guy. And so Aaron is singing on some of Teddy's production on Heavy. And then we put out the second album and we go triple platinum again. And so now Andre is growing in power and the Uptown staff is growing in power. Now we have some sort of power in the building. And then as we put out this album, we start developing this film called Strictly Business.
Okay.
And this film has Holly Berry in it and in it from the beginning, you know. And so we put out this film that does great. So they bring us back to the table to renegotiate a new deal for even more money with staff all over the country and basically giving us our own arm to operate, you know, as our own, like, you know, giving us autonomy to own entity. And so we on a roll at this point right now. And it just gets better after that. You know, Guy's album did well the first time around. Al's vocals were blended with Timmy Gatlin's vocals. Al did some writing on that. They did some writing on Al's first album. Their first album that came out did at least 2 million albums. Al's album did 3 million albums. And, you know, we are doing great now. We all working together. Everything is lovely. And everything is lovely until the money comes. Everything, we all family. But when the money came, then the energy changed. You know, everybody wanted to be the boss. And instead of being managed, now everybody wants to be their own manager, their own production company, their own label. And, you know, that's when people were getting record labels. All you had to do was get a one-hit record. The next thing you know, a record label was giving you a label. Everybody's not capable of operating a record label and making a record. And so the thing is that so the confusion starts to come in, but we're still on the roll. We're still on the roll. Now we begin to sign new acts. Father MC comes in. He does a gold platinum album right out of the box. So, you know, and we got Teddy producing him, and then we have other artists involved with him. Father's the first one that introduced Jodeci on his records, and Devontae Swing and Mary J on his records. That's how they got introduced into the music business in the game. And so, and the people at that time that were doing the A&R work was Kurt Woodley. And he's a prodigy in itself. And Kurt Woodley is responsible for bringing Mary J. Blige to Uptown Records. Kurt Woodley is responsible for, in the beginning, being in the studio with Jodeci. Kurt Woodley is responsible for being in the studio A&R on Heavy D's album. Kurt Woodley is responsible after he left Uptown for Cypress Hill and the Fugees.
Wow.
So Kurt Woodley is something special in himself. And this is the type of talent and the people that we had around us. And, you know, so as we move on, Alonzo and Andre, like I said, was a part of Strictly Business and writing it. And then we're introducing Jodeci. And Devontae is learning under Eddie F, I'll Be Sure. And Teddy was starting to move away from us. So I don't know how much he learned from Teddy, but I'll Be Sure and Eddie F had a lot to do with his progression as a producer. And he's one of the greatest producers that have ever come out of Uptown Records. And so you got Devontae emerging as one of the greatest producers and a great producer. And the Jodeci album, he basically produced on his own with some guidance from Al B. Shore and Eddie F. But once he was able to stand up and fly on his own, he did it well. He was amazing at it. And he produced the Jodeci album. When we put that Jodeci album out, half of it was A&R by Kurt, but the rest was A&R by a young man by the name of Puff Daddy, who came into Uptown as an intern. Once Puffy put his seasoning on it, on the first two Jodeci records, and he created, we already had the remix, but he came and perfected it. Oh. He came and made the remix like it was a brand new record. He changed the whole record and made it a whole new record. Like we were able to just make remixes before, but it was very similar to the same record that was put out before.
Yeah, yeah.
And create the new form of making the remix. And those remixes sold just as much as the single.
Wow.
And definitely the album, if not more. So, and you know, like I said, we were selling 3 million albums on Jodeci. And so, you know, he'd have a remix that was sold like 5 million copies, 6 million copies on a single. And so, you know, needless to say, Puffy became a superstar at Uptown. An uncontrollable one, but a superstar nonetheless.
Was he still an intern, or has he been given
He's
that?
He's the intern moving into being an A&R. And there's about 10 different people taking credit for Puffy even coming to Uptown. And there's another 10 people taking credit for bringing Puffy in the office to Andre. And Andre going, get this little black nigga out of my office, man. I don't want to hear that. And you know, I'm one of them, and because he was my intern as well, and he was something special. Wow. Everything he did, he got done quickly.
Wow.
If you asked him to go to the store, he was back in 1 second. If you asked him to make a record, he had it done. And he was asking for his opportunity. When he got his opportunity, he nailed it. He nailed it because he would surround himself with the best people, and the knowledge that we had already have given him, he took that and really studied it and understood it better than anybody, any intern. And we had great interns. We have interns that have come out of Uptown Records and people that have worked there that are billionaires. Wow. So, and it's not just him, and he's definitely one of them. And he's something special from the beginning. Everything he brought to the table, even the bad attitude, good attitude, it was worth it because he put us on the map. And when after Jodeci, Kurt Woodley and Andre had a disagreement, and Kurt had got let go or left, whatever the story is really. But he was managing Mary. Puffy comes in, starts producing Mary, and the rest is history. Kurt might have produced 3 or 4 records on the first album, but the rest of it was Puffy. And after that, him and Mary had a musical marriage that has lasted till today. It was incredible. And I'll tell you this right now, like Mary and Puff, they believed in one another to the point where they are connected forever. They have might as well been married musically, and they're connected forever. He's involved in everything she does because he's the primary reason for her success.
So you guys gave him that much freedom to do the album?
Yes. After the success of Jodeci, we gave him that much freedom to do the album. And boy, did he take the freedom. And boy, and, you know, and run with it. But it was the right thing to do, and it was worth it. And he took it to the point where it got to the point where he was unmanageable, and it couldn't be. It couldn't be two kings. Andre was the Uptown.
Were people looking at Puffy as he's the golden child, or what was that? What
he was the golden child, and he was the young lion ready to come for the throne.
Okay. Okay.
You know what I mean? He was the young lion coming for the throne. and just like a lion too, savage. Savage. And so he was coming for the throne, and he was going to achieve it too. And but he got to the point where he was unmanageable to us, and he had to go. So Andre started a company. He started a company, Bad Boy, which was under Uptown. It was a production deal, a label deal under Uptown. Okay. Because at that point we could do label deals. And he had his first two acts, Biggie Smalls and Craig Mack was on Uptown Records. First two records, one Craig Mack's record, I think Flavor in Your Ear, and two of Biggie Smalls records, Party and Bullshit, and another record. And he bought Biggie, and that blew up. And then he was totally uncontrollable. And then he got fired. Then he got fired. Yeah, because he was uncontrollable. So Puffy leaves. I'm asking Andre, don't let Puffy leave. Mark Siegel was the one that was encouraging Andre to fire Puff, and telling Andre, because Mark couldn't control Puff at all. Puff didn't have absolutely no respect for him whatsoever. And he was coming in to break up what we had. And he was adamant about letting Puff go.
More so than yourself and Andre?
More so. Me and Puff didn't get along at all. I didn't want him to leave because I didn't want the hits to go, because I was the head of promotion and marketing. I wanted the hits to stay. I didn't care if he liked me or I liked him. None of that shit mattered to me. I just wanted to stay in our glory. And we had hit after hit after hit after hit with him there. With him gone, we still had hits, but it wasn't the magnitude of hits that we had while he was there.
What was he doing differently though? Because what did he do?
His talent, and who he learned from. He learned from Eddie F. He learned from Devontae. He learned from Teddy. He would learn, and then he put together his own crew. And actually, the proof is in the pudding. They were better. So when somebody's a genius at what they do and they're smarter than you, the right thing for you to do is to try to manage that for as long as possible, because you can't control it. You have to try to manage that. And I'm going to tell you this. When you have an artist, right, the first record you make with an artist, you're the boss, meaning the production company, the distribution company. You're the boss. The second top record that comes, you guys are equal. Okay. The third hit record, you're getting fired.
So they take over.
They don't need you. They need you for. They got everybody coming at them. Every president, every person is telling them what they could do better for them and offering them more money. So you had a company getting $175,000 a year, and Clive Davis comes and says, "I'll give you $75 million to start your. I'll give you $75 million. I'll give you $50 million. It don't make no difference to me. I know what you're going to roll out over here." So we allow that situation to get away from us because we weren't smart enough. The egos got involved. Egos got involved, and in this game of entertainment, because I'm in music, I do music through film right now, and I'm in the film business right now. There's no ego. You got to get to work, and you're dealing with brilliant people and creative people, and a lot of them are smarter than you. And how do you outsmart someone that's smarter than you? You have to try to, and your ego can't, and your pride and all that bullshit can't be in the, you know, Puffy has said things to me that made me want to kill him. But not to the point where I want to see the hits go. I don't want the hits to go anywhere.
Yeah.
You know, and the thing about it is we're talented. Andre is very talented, creatively. Like I said, I'm a wordsmith. I made up words that were on records that I should have got publishing for. And it's true. I had every single one of my artists, including Puffy, talking like me, walking, dressing, everything. And that's just the truth. And that's why I can say it freely. But none of that matters when they're able to take your gift and apply it to their gift and make it bigger.
Yeah.
And make it bigger. So what you have to do is, because Andre has a gift that nobody has, and then Puffy has a gift that nobody has, and I have a gift that nobody has, but it's not, you know, Puffy got the total package. And that's why he's a billionaire right now. And I'm over here to borrow some money. I'm trying to phrase things properly so that I don't upset him at all.
Yeah. Goodness. But during those times, because I know you said you were head of promotion, so because when he left Uptown, it was big industry news. I mean, everyone heard, oh, Puffy is gone. But then within the label, did it feel like something big had happened, or did you think, well, we've got Jodeci, we've got Mary, we've got Heavy, we still have all the acts? So what was it like?
We still had the acts, but Puffy had total control over Mary at that time. So she was on Uptown, but he was making it seem like she was on Bad Boy. You see what I mean? And then he was building his roster off. Mary had helped platform Biggie, which didn't need much platforming, but she was a part of a lot of songs that Biggie were on, and it was more like she was a Bad Boy artist. You know what I mean? And when Puffy left, he left with a lot of my promotional staff, my marketing staff. He left with a lot of people that were working with him at Uptown. You know what I mean? And he made a real power move. And also, you know, when he left, we didn't stutter step at all. We came out with Soul for Real, Lost Boys, but they ain't Biggie Small.